You're listening to Criticaleye's Asia Leadership Podcast. Criticaleye is a global membership community with over 2 decades of experience supporting senior executives in their roles. We work with board-level executives, giving them opportunities to build their knowledge, skills, and access independent reference points outside of their immediate networks. Whether you're stepping up into a more senior role or aspiring to do so, looking to hone high-level stakeholder relationships, drive operational performance, build your own personal resilience as a leader, or have longer-term career goals such as moving into a plural career, Criticaleye's approach supports a range of leadership challenges and ambitions.
Hello and welcome to the Criticaleye Asia podcast, Inspiring Leaders to Succeed. I'm Yu-Wen Hsiao, Marketing and Communications Manager at APAC Criticaleye, and it's a pleasure to be a host for today's episode. In today's discussion, we will be exploring the board's perspective on the business landscape in Asia. With rapid technological shifts, sustainability imperatives, and geopolitical risks, the business environment is more complex than ever. And from board's point of view, how should boards and executives navigate these challenges, seize new opportunities, and ensure long-term resilience for their organizations? So joining us today is Benny Goh, founder and managing partner of Parami Solutions and strategic advisor and non-executive director at Taqtik Health. He also served as board advisor to Pereira International and is a Criticaleye Board Mentor. And right now, with over 30 years of leadership experience across Asia, Benny specializes in corporate governance, sustainability, and energy efficiency. So Benny, welcome. To kick things off, let's talk about navigating the shifting business landscape. With rising risks, whether it's economy uncertainty, geopolitical changes, or digital disruption, how do you see boards balancing the needs for effective risk management while also seizing new opportunities?
Thank you, Coco, for inviting me. Firstly, I should say that. And regarding the issue of boards, boards today face a myriad of issues and should no longer be just providing oversight on governance alone. There is a constant need for boards to recalibrate the business. And risks in companies today take on different shapes. Right? As we mentioned just now, it's dynamic, it's geopolitical, and there's also technological disruption. So at the same time, one of the board's responsibility is in making sure that a company is able to navigate uncertainties and to avoid obsolescence. So hence the ability to transform and pivot. This means not only must you be able to manage risk, but there must be room for a risk-informed opportunity assessment. So what does this mean, right? This is really kind of harvesting for ideas across different industries and asking intelligent questions so that it enables a company to adopt new ideas and improve upon its capabilities. So take a simple example in the automotive industry. This is very old industry for 100 years, actually. It continued to build upon more powerful engines and just a sleeker design of cars for each generation. What we learned from smartphone today, you have the electric vehicle, which is not only a mobility vehicle, but also an extension of the smartphone. So it is a personalized mobility management system that allows for navigation. It is an infotainment capsule where you travel driverless. So this is an example of how the ability to pick up ideas from a different industry can revolutionize your current industry you're in. But so that said, there's a need for the board to really balance the two, right? Because you can't be just taking ideas and trying to manage it. So it must evolve a set of opportunities and processes that allows you to seek these ideas carefully.
Benny, with your deep experience in governance and sustainability, how do you view board's role in ensuring resilience in the face of such uncertainties?
See, in the area of governance and sustainability, the boards are no longer the guardians of status quo. Right? They're becoming architects of long-term resilience. So when resilience today means preparing for disruption before it hits you. In my mind, there are 3 areas which I think they should play. but they must embed sustainability risks into the business strategy. I must ensure that geopolitical risks, opportunities, and climate risks are translated into the business strategy and not on the ESG reports alone. So, for example, it must be factored into the financial planning and not just appendix in the annual report. And governance also needs to be treated as a framework where you look at it for future readiness. So let me just explain this. First and foremost, I want to say that boards need to ensure the company complies with the correct set of ethical and moral conduct, right? For example, integrity, accountability, honesty, and so forth. As such, management and leaders must be of sound character. This is first and foremost. But however, in today's world, we are beginning to see that each region, each market requires the local leaders to behave differently, given sufficient empowerment to make good decisions for the good of the company. Right? So good governance is also the foundation of agility, right? In a sense, agility, because you are agile in different markets. So take, for example, this idea of decentralized empowerment or enabling the balancing of speed with accountability allows for quick success during the times of crisis. So for example, Unilever, right? The good governance during the COVID crisis, they allowed the local community to behave and empower to provide the kind of relationship with the customers in each market. So for example, India and Indonesia. As such, when they came out of COVID, the brand recognition, the relationships were very strong. And consequently, they have actually a much better positioning thereafter. So the strong governance model allows you to empower decision-making locally while you're aligned in a global sense. And the third thing I have in mind is shaping the culture of sustainable mindsets within the company. So building resilience includes embedding evaluation of culture of forward-looking into the executives' compensation, into how we invest in our CapEx, and how we even look at the board skill matrices for the independent directors. So resilient companies have boards that shape culture and not just reviewing the quarterly performances.
Benny, speaking of long-term resilience, I think one of the biggest strategic imperatives for business today is sustainability. So how should boards integrate this into their decision-making?
So in boards' decision-making processes, they must assess and oversee the company's or the management's role, right, in the risks and opportunities of climate and sustainability. So the boss must ask questions like, are we incentivizing the short-term or is it a long-term stewardship? Or is it short-term returns or long-term stewardship? Right. So at a boardroom, there's a need to develop a clear understanding, clarity on the impacts of how sustainability risks and opportunities affect your business strategy. And consequently, the financial planning that ensues. Right. They must ensure that it's well-developed a process, or as I mentioned earlier on, process of risk management, so that you can actually have the associated metrics and KPIs around them to ensure the resilience of the company.
Benny, given Asia's position in global economy, how important it is for boards to adapt a more international perspective when addressing sustainability and innovation?
For innovation and of boards, this is an interesting way because boards right now needs to foster a lot of innovation and not just provide oversight. So in other words, boards must have insight and they must have foresight, right? So that will allow for agility. And agility is an essential and survival skill for companies, right? Especially for boards and management. So boards must always be on the lookout for disruptions that can make the company obsolete. So this means that it must learn from other industries, as I mentioned just now, and how it can be impacted by disruptions, both geopolitical, regulatory, and even technological. So such insights gained will help the boards reflect on the company's ability.
And Benny, how do you see investor expectations evolving around sustainability and what impact does that have on board's decision making?
right now, you look at the way the companies are behaving, boards really need to step up on looking at ESG as a means of enabling the company to be even more responsible, because financial markets today take into consideration a company's ESG capability. So, for example, in listed companies, you look at financial markets, they have actually embedded into the multiples of companies based on the ESG strategies that they have employed in a company. So boards must be also careful in ensuring that they have the right kind of ESG responsibilities in place. The counter side is that if you look at certain funds today, they have been actually withdrawing from companies who do not have the right kind of ESG practices in place, and therefore penalizing them. So this is important in a global context. And for those who are not in the listed companies, for example, when you are going to seek funding in the financial markets, that becomes also an imperative, right? A lot of investors will also say, are you ESG ready? Because all companies need to be responsible in terms of the climate risk that we see today.
Benny, I think beyond sustainability, another key for long-term success is adaptability. And right now, with industry changing faster than ever, I think the ability to pivot and evolve has become a defining trait of successful organizations. So from your perspective, how has the role of boards and leadership evolved to keep up with these changes?
So boards need to foster innovation, right? This is basically something which a lot of people tend to understand, but the culture of empowerment, accountability is also very important with a healthy dose of competition and empowerment, as I mentioned earlier on. Let me just give some examples of how some companies have managed to do that well, and how boards should prepare themselves. So I'll take two examples. One is companies like Hire, for example. In the past, the way it was structured, it was very much a traditional company. But later on, what they've done is actually broken up the company into micro enterprises. So each leader in the company runs his department as if he were an entrepreneur. As a result of that, you find that the number of products and solutions that Hire has offered in the market has intensified very quickly. And that is actually the way of making the companies much more resilient and much more agile, because entrepreneurship fosters good ideas and also risk-taking, right? The other example is also Huawei. You look at the way they have invested. They have put in 20% of revenue into R&D every year. But R&D is not only one project, right? What they have done is actually within the system, many project teams fight for a same project. That means there's different ABCs doing the same project independently in their own war rooms. So what it means is that there is a competition. You know that you're out there, you're competing with your own peers in the company. And it's a matter of the survival of victors. So this gives the ability for Huawei to come up with, since the embargo during Trump's days and Biden, you find that Huawei has transformed from just a cell phone company into one that has got a whole suite of different things, from electric vehicles to EVs, batteries, and also recently it read in the news that they're coming out with GPU chips as well. So this is really a way of fostering innovation. So boards need to learn from this kind of capability, right, where you allow the management and the company the freedom of entrepreneurship, but at the same time have the governance to ensure there's accountability.
And Benny, what's the role should board play in fostering an innovation-driven culture that allows business to stay ahead of disruption?
Letting the team below you have the freedom and ability, boards giving them the right resources, but boards must continue to provide the right insights and foresight. Right, oversight is one thing where they report out, okay, this is what I've done in my current projects. But the insights are that, you must be understanding what is happening outside of the company in a different industry. Are such lessons applicable in our case? and then how can we move further, right, into the future. So that is the kind of discussion should be at the board level.
And Benny, with so many competing priorities, how can boards effectively guide management teams in balancing innovation with stability?
It's the same answer I will offer, Coco, because at the end of the day, boards are the gatekeeper of resources. Boards are the one who ensure that the right culture is transmitted down from the very top leadership, and boards are the one to ensure that the companies do not face disruption from different kind of risks, whether it's geopolitical, whether it is technological, or whether it is actually from within the team itself.
So Benny, as we wrap up today's conversation, I'd like to thank you for sharing your invaluable insights on the evolving role of boards and the strategies necessary to navigate today's complex business landscape. I think it's really clear that balancing risk management with opportunity, driving sustainability, and fostering adaptability are all critical components for long-term success. Benny, before we close, is there any final piece of advice you'd like to share with our listeners, especially those in leadership positions or serving on boards, as they're looking to guide their organizations through these uncertain times?
So I will leave maybe with these two sentences, right? We must lead with courage and clarity and build the future from your boardroom.
A big thank you once again, Benny, for sharing your insights on governance, sustainability, and the evolving role of boards. Has been truly enlightening for me. So I'm pretty sure our listeners have taken away valuable perspective on how to navigate today's fast-changing business landscape and live with the resilience. So thank you very much, Benny.
And most welcome. I'm very honored to be here.